this is groundbreaking. The fact that you've come to these conclusions in terms of findings, and there is promise in terms of cancer and also HIV.
We can help the pharmaceutical company to produce those compounds so that the community can be able to access them.
Hello, Dr. Rama, and welcome to Ph.D. Hard Talk. How are we today?
I'm great, thanks. And how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for attending Ph.D. Hard Talk and for wanting to share your research with the global wider audience. Could you please introduce your research for us in terms of what it is and why you started this research?
Okay, basically my research is about isolating and identifying and also characterizing the bioactive compounds from plants. So I have done this with two plants. It's Hypoestis aristata plant and also the Leucocidia sericea plant. And my research was inspired by, I was growing up, I was curious because I'm from the villages in South Africa, in Limpopo. So while we were growing up, our elders used to use the plant herbs to try and help us to cure the different ailments such as cold, flu, and the other stuff, because they used to, at home there was this tree, they used to take it, take it and boil it so that we can steam and get better if you have flu or if you have cold. So I get curious as to, okay, what is it that is in this plant that makes one better if you are sick? It's some vegetable leaves, and those vegetable leaves, I think they had something on it because they used to eat that a lot and encourage us to eat green vegetable leaves that we used to find around the yard. They said they keep one healthy. So I used to wonder, what is it that is in them? Some of them, they were so bitter, and you eating those ones and you feel like, but why do we have to eat such things? But in the long run, while I was growing up, I saw that our elders were not really just getting, they don't really get sick. Yes, so that made me curious as to what was it that was on those plants. So it led me to find a supervisor that was doing natural products. And yes.
Okay, excellent. So in terms of the audience out there, what does bioactive mean?
Bioactive means that it's the chemical compounds that are in the plant which are active. So by activity, it means they can be able to cure some diseases. For example, in my project, those compounds that we were able to identify, and depending on the quantity, we were able to test them against the HIV, cancer, and diabetes cell lines.
Okay, so what are the two trees that you looked at? What are the names of the trees?
They are called Hypoestis aristata. And if you've seen on my abstract that I've sent you, you can see those funny names. Yes, those funny names, Hypoestis aristata and Leucocidia sericea. Those are the two plants that I worked on.
So in terms of these two plants, can you find them elsewhere, or are they only based in Limpopo?
You can find them elsewhere, but they are mainly in Africa. So, and also they are in abundance in South Africa, and you can find them, some of them you can find them along the rivers, along the roads, along the sands, like wherever. Sometimes you find them wherever, when you are walking, you can just find them. So which makes it easier for us to work with, because you can get them anywhere. But in this case, one of the plants, we got it at our university. So they plant those plants at the university for research purposes.
Okay, that is amazing, because then I'm looking at it from a global perspective. If these trees are only found in the Sub-Saharan region, as you've just explained there, which means if we're in Europe, or you're currently in Dubai, aren't you? That means that we can't access the trees, you know, from their natural ground for us to run the test. So there's a limitation there. So how do you then transport the trees? Is that something that's done?
My research was done in South Africa. Basically, I've just moved to Dubai. So if there is natural product, I mean, research facilities, hopefully if they're interested in those ones, because when we identify the plants to work with, you search for the plants that have not been, the research have not been done much, so that you can explore on those ones, because there's no use to go and pick up a plant where most of the things have been done, have been worked on, and then repeat the same thing, really. So you need to do research and then pick the plants that have not been worked on before, or the research is limited.
So, you know, in terms of your findings from your research, have you
Yes.
found any evidence to say, yes, it is a cure for maybe HIV or maybe certain cancers? Or are you still researching in terms of the trees?
Some of the compounds that I have identified, they have been tested before, and they were proven to be active in HIV and also in cancer. Specifically, there was a compound that you saw there. I think its name is hinokinin. So
Yeah.
that compound has been identified before, and it has been tested in cancer cell lines, and it was proven to be active. So the benefits will be, we can help the pharmaceutical company to produce those compounds in a larger scale, so that the community can be able to access them.
So in terms of your current situ, are you thinking to further continue with your research to ensure that's done, or have you moved into industry now?
I would like to move to industries, because at the present moment, I am looking for a job, because I am now in Dubai. So I'm looking for a job where I will be able to apply my skills and the knowledge that I have.
Okay, so would you want to do a postdoctoral, or is it just moving to a big business and continuing forth with your research? What are your plans?
My desire is to move to industries so that I can learn more, focus on academics per se. But for the start, if the academics is coming first, I can go for that so that I can get more experience and be more confident in what I'm doing, and also improve my skills also, because I believe when you're doing postdoc, you are starting to also work on your own and be more independent of your supervisor. So I think if I start there, I can be able to stand on my own in such a way that when I go to industry, I can be able to apply more of my skills and my knowledge.
Because I find it interesting, the fact that you've come to these conclusions in terms of findings, and there is promise in terms of cancer and also HIV, but yet you're moving to industry. I would want to continue with my research. I get what you're saying in terms of I would love both, but what's pushing you more to industry? Because this is groundbreaking.
I think in industry, you learn more of like you apply more than when you are in the lab at school and doing experiments, because at school is more of experiments and writing your results. But in industry, it's more of also learning how to apply. Then if we get those compounds, then to learn to move to a larger scale of those compounds and learn how to do the formulations and this efficacy test, the efficacy of the compounds that we have discovered. I think it's more of the application than the studying and researching of what we are doing at the university.
Okay, so in terms of, because my knowledge and based on research, I've come to learn that in terms of the Sub-Saharan region, specifically the south side, there's high levels of AIDS, HIV, especially with the younger generation from the 20s. In my head, I'm thinking I would want to be in a lab so I can assist in terms of the pandemic that we have, because that generation really, it's going to be quite difficult to reverse that in the near future. If people in their mid-20s, they're already having AIDS, before, in terms of HIV, the cycle there is horrific based on statistics. So why is that not driving you to say, let me stay in the lab, further my research, and then pitch it to a big pharmaceutical company to launch this so I can help my community?
Yes, it can be done that way, to stay in the lab and pitch it. But remember, at the universities, it might not be as easy as you saying to get the postdoc position to further your studies based on what you have been doing. For example, at the present moment, the project that I was doing, there is no a postdoc position for that project at the moment. So it depends on your supervisors, if they have funding for that to continue to give you the opportunity to do your postdoc and further your studies. And another challenge is also based on your personal issues. For example, right now I have moved to Dubai because my husband is working here and my family is here. So some of the stuff is based on the family dynamics, really, to channel you to other things other than where you have been before.
Right. Well, congratulations to your husband and congratulations to your family on the relocation. No, that makes sense in terms of what you're saying. So in terms of where you see yourself in 5 years, what's your vision?
I would like to become a research person who is working in the industry, where the pharmaceutical industry, where they are producing more of, they're doing more of drug discovery and producing new drugs and finding a way of combating these ailments that are available, that have been there for a long time. For example, cancer has been there for a long time and yet there is no cure for it. So those kind of industries, I would like to be in an industry where they are working towards dealing with these ailments and trying to have a solution. For example, also there is now a pandemic of COVID.
Yes, there is, yeah.
And one of the compounds that I have identified was proven to be working towards to be active towards the SARS. Like there was a flu before that had that was pandemic. Yes. So that compound was tested before and was found to be active. So it's one of the compounds that I've also identified. So which is exciting. If you get those kind of things, identify the compounds that can be useful to combat these ailments. So I would like to be in that area. And on the other hand, if I have learned more and established myself in industries, I would like to also open my own company where I will be employing people, where I will be employing people, especially young ladies, and to inspire them that it is possible. It is possible to be somebody. It is possible, because these days, I think our younger generation have given up on education due to lack of job opportunities. Yes, so for me to do that, I think it will give younger generation hope that it is possible to be somebody, and it is possible to get somewhere, to achieve your goals. If you have goals, write them down. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there, because if I tell you, like for me to end up in finishing my PhD, it took me so long. to end up like having this PhD. I've been to, I think, 5 universities. I've done my undergraduate degree at University of Venda. I went and did my honors at Stellenbosch University, my master's degree at University of Johannesburg, then my PhD at the University of Pretoria. So like, it's possible. If you are willing and determined, you will get there.
Oh my gosh, such encouraging words. And you know, I understand what you're saying, because currently in South Africa, there's high levels of unemployment when it comes to women. Specifically, the ratio from male to women in terms of contributing towards the GDP is shocking. And your words, hopefully, in terms of the people out there, they will understand and they will look for mentors to guide them to make better decisions, even choosing the courses that they pick in university, because that's another thing. If you pick humanities and there's no job in that field, you're stuck with a degree.
Yeah,
so
that's true. I think another thing that makes them to give up, really, most of them, they think that the challenges, because if you are growing up in a family where you feel that they cannot be able to provide for your university fees, sometimes I think most of them, they feel that there's no use to go forward. Most of them, they want to end up in grade 12. They said, what is the use for me to go forward and get the degree or get the diploma, because my parents cannot be able to afford. But as you go forward and do your postgraduate degrees, really, the government and the universities, they fund those degrees, they fund the postgraduate degrees. You cannot sit at home and say, I don't have money to go to school. Do your research, ask around, and then find out, if I go further with my studies, will I be able to get funding? And the scholarships are there, they are available. They're just waiting for people to come and apply and go to school. One of my relatives once asked me that, why are you still studying and not go and find a job? So my answer was like, there are no jobs out there. I've been looking for a job, but instead of me sitting, let me further my studies. And as I'm furthering my studies, the government is paying for my studies, and I'm also getting a stipend to be able to sustain myself. So why sitting and not getting anything? And while I can go to school and further my studies, get more knowledge, skills, and then I'm getting paid for going to school.
No, I mean, those are wise words, and thank you so much for sharing. I guess the last thing that I will ask is, if you were to look back to when you started your journey, as you've been to different universities, what advice would you give somebody that's set at home now and thinking, I want to take that path, but I'm not sure if I'm resilient enough with the current climate in South Africa, having said that you are from Limpopo, and that it is, to the audience out there, in terms of rural, it's like an urban setting. What advice would you give them?
My advice that I can give them, that it is possible. Ask questions. If you want to know, ask questions. There are lots of information available out there, and there are lots of people now who are qualifying more than before. Like we are generations that are more qualified than our parents. So the information is out there. So if you are willing, and if you are determined, and if you are willing, and the most important thing is to be persistent and be willing. So you will be able to get where you want to go and where you want to be. So never give up, because there are lots of things out there that will be telling you, nah, I can't get there. It's impossible. But I am from a village where in a primary school, I used to walk to school for like a good 15 kilometers to 20 kilometers. So I am here right now, and I have completed my PhD, and I'm wanting to go forward to persist where I want to be. I don't want to be in one place, but I want to be somewhere. I want to be somebody also, so I want to learn more. So be willing.
Yeah.
And we will get there.
So just for the audience out there, when Dr. Rama says, I want to be somebody, it's status, in terms of change from the previous, be it poverty, be it hardship. That's what Dr. Rama means in terms of that. But in terms of, parting words, any words of wisdom or, anything that you'd like to share that we haven't discussed today?
Oh, okay. As a lady, I would love to tell my younger self that study first, and then get married later, because it's very, very difficult. Now I'm talking to the ladies,
Yes.
It's very to study while you have kids and while you have family. I'm telling you, because I was stuck alone during pandemic in South Africa, and my family was right here. So it was a very challenging time for me. And also, but as I was looking at the end goal, I want to finish and I want to be with my family. So I was determined, and I was persistent and working very hard. So to my younger self, I would have loved to finish the school first, and then the rest shall follow.
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and a lot of candidates that I've spoken to off the camera, they have said that. So thank you so much for sharing it on the record, because they find it challenging. Just to summarize, in terms of being in academia, explaining to their supervisors, sometimes it can be challenging when it comes to childcare. Yes. And they feel like they're less than, and they're not respected due to the fact that they've got a family, they have to leave a bit early, they can't stay in the labs for longer periods like their male counterparts. And so you've summarized it beautifully there. So thank you so much in terms of that. In terms of PhD Hard Talk, what made you come on PhD Hard Talk?
I also wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to challenge myself, because when you approached me, I'm like, oh my goodness, I haven't done this. And by nature, I'm a shy person, but I'm like, okay, I want to challenge myself, and I want to see myself growing also. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. We do this, and then like the next one, because I've also been invited to a conference in the UK still. Yes, so in I think it's a global chemistry conference. So someone invited me. They said, "Do you wanna speak?" I said, "Yes, I'm going for this one."
Wow, I'll be a cheerleader at the back, like, hey.
Yeah, I also wanted to share my journey, my PhD journey, really, because it's tough, but it's doable.
It is. And I guess I'd like to thank you so much for your time, and I would love to have a segment with you, not to put you on the spot, in terms of encouraging women and mentoring them, just for us to have a discussion in terms of the challenges that you've faced as a woman, as you've touched on it. I think that would be very beneficial for women out there who may be struggling and they don't know whom to talk to, or they don't realize that we all go through the same challenges as them. So I think that'd be amazing.
That would be great. That would be great to I think it's important to help each other and carry each other as we are going, because we don't want other people to be left behind while we are moving forward. So it's very much important to empower each other and help each other where we are struggling, because you as a person, you can have other strong points that I can gain from, because I believe that when you meet a person, you will gain something from that person. Doesn't matter which sector or which education they have done and which part of the world they're in. I believe that destiny makes people meet and we'll be able to grow each other. So yeah.
Excellent. So we're coming to the end now. So I'd like to thank you again, Dr. Rama, in terms of your time. Please like, share and subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you can get the next videos as they come up, so that it's easier for everybody. Let's get the word out there. It's now #project dissemination to the world. We want to get our voices heard, and we want the world, in terms of community, to know what we do and the benefits. As you've heard today, you know, we're closer to curing cancer, maybe HIV. We still need the funding to ensure that we get everything right. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed the talk. I hope you also enjoyed too. So thank you so much. I feel so honored to have been chosen to come and talk to you.
Thank you.